Hey there, commercial construction coffee talk fans. Thanks for chiming in. My name's David Corson. I'm your host. I'm also the publisher and editor of Commercial Construction and Renovation Magazine. This is what it used to look like when we were printing. We're digital now. Pulling out some archives here. Let's see. This is issue 2, 2021. Calvera Skin Therapy and the owners, the co-founders. This was a great looking issue. This was 164 pages. Let's see what I was doing. Oh, I was, must have been Olympic time. I have my USA shirt on there, and that's Jim Craig from the Olympic team. And it was probably the anniversary when they beat the Russians up in Lake Placid. And I went to prep school in Central Jersey at the Petty School, and I we went up to Lake Placid in 1980 when I was a junior with Princeton Day School, and we went up and played Lake Placid High School and the Northwood School, which is one of the top hockey prep schools in the country. We played on the Olympic rink about 2 weeks before the Olympics. Most amazing thing I'd ever done. Lake Placid High School blew us out, but we played Northwood School really, really tight. 2 weeks later, the Olympics started, and then we won the gold medal. So it was an amazing, amazing, just the thing to say it. And they won the gold medal, so it was crazy. But in any event, it's 4th of July. It's that same kind of year. We got Independence Day coming up at the end of the week. Sizzling hot out here in the South in the ATL. I'm up here in the lot, in our lake lot. We just finished, and I'm sitting in my kitchen. My studio is still getting kind of out of boxes. I've got my neon signs, and I got to get them hung and trying to figure out where I'm going to do. But the last couple of episodes I've done down here, I told my wife, I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to go down there. And look, she put the flag up for me. So that was great. But in any event, hopefully everybody's getting ready for, listen, it's 6 months. You're in halfway through the year, and it's time to kind of take an assessment of what you did great, what you didn't do great, where you can improve, assess, tweak. And it's kind of like halftime in a football game or a basketball game, or it's in between periods of a hockey game. Bottom line is you got to go in and regroup, retweak, think about, where you want to go. So it's the second half of the year, and you'll want to finish strong with the momentum and have a W on the scoreboard at the end of the year. And it doesn't matter if it's pretty or ugly, as long as it's a W. So it's much better to be pretty than ugly, but still, a win is a win in my book. And that's where my thinking is. You always want to be moving forward with the positive thought. It's an amazing time to be alive. There's so much going on in the world, in construction, business, politics, just everything. It's never a dull moment. I can't even keep up with it. I lay in bed, I'm working all day. I go on my phone. I'm like, oh my God, this happened too. I didn't even know that. So, but today I actually have a nice lady. She's down in Key West, but she's from basically Pennsylvania girl. I'm from Pottstown, right outside of Philadelphia. Her name is Dawn Mahan. And she's a management training gig called PMOtraining.com, and she's also an author. Dawn, say hello to our audience out there on Commercial Construction Coffee Talk.
Hi there. I'm so happy to be here, David. Thank
Yeah,
you for
what's
having
the
me.
weather in Key West today?
It is overcast. It rained. We're starting hurricane season here. So
Yeah, I mean, busy tourist wise, or I
it's
mean,
not too bad right now, but we just came off of season. We call it
mhm.
season, when everybody's escaping Philadelphia and other cold
Yeah, sure.
places
The
to join.
snowbirds.
Yeah, the
Yeah,
snowbirds, exactly. So now it's more the locals and some very brave tourists that are here for hurricane season.
yeah. Well, I just had I forget who just went down to Key West. One of my clients, they were going down there to fish, and maybe it was a couple of fraternity brothers. I don't know. I'll get some pictures. I'll remember who it is. But when I was younger, my grandparents had a place in Bar Harbor in the Indian River, right down to Miami Beach. And we used to. I remember going over the 7 Mile Bridge and down into the Keys to go tarpon fishing, and it was awesome. But that was way back when. Now it's completely built up, but still beautiful, beautiful place. And my son's moving down to West Palm, and I said, "Yeah, you're gonna have to go down the Keys." He goes, "Oh yeah, man, I can't wait to go down there. That'll be his first trip." He goes, "Oh, I want to go over that bridge. I've seen it in a bunch of movies and this and that." And I said, "Yep, yep, you're gonna have to go down there. Yeah, we're gonna go fish and I want to catch a tarpon too." I said, "Yep, there you go. Best place to do it."
It's
So
a wild place here.
yeah.
It really is a wild
So
place.
how did you pick the Keys from Philadelphia? In Central PA?
Well, I think you're gonna love this. I picked the Keys because I called my father from my office in Philadelphia, in Old City, and I said, Dad, I heard the whole state of Florida is on sale. You wanted to go with me and check it out? And he was in Harrisburg. He had just retired. He's like, I'll be ready in 20 minutes.
Yeah.
And just 2 hours away, he's like, get me out of this house. So that was 2009
Oh,
when,
wow.
when the whole state of Florida was on sale. And so, indeed, my first time in the Keys was driving Mr. Daisy, my dad, down the whole length of the Keys from Miami to Key West, and we stayed all around and looked around, and I found the house that I'm sitting in right now at that time. And thank goodness I did because it was one of the best moves I ever made.
Oh, well, listen, I can think of worse places to live, I mean, come on. I mean, you're in God's country down there. I mean, you get the water, you got the beach, you got the fish, you got the tourists, you got plenty of Yankees down there. They say water, right?
They do say, I don't hear too many wooters here.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. For those of you, that's an inside joke for being PA because we say water, water, water. We don't say water. And my wife tries to correct me. It's water, not water. I'm like, yeah, but Pennsylvania, that's the way we talk. You
Well,
know,
and in Philly, in certain areas, it's so different. It's wooder, and I
water.
only know this because a Rita's water ice
Oh,
ad
Rita's
went
water ice.
went
Yeah.
went across on a bus in Philadelphia, and it said, and it was spelled Wooder, Wooder, Rita's water ice, and I was like, I will never forget this. Well, it was a brilliant
Oh,
ad.
yeah. No, I still say it. I say it both ways, but I don't say it the correct way. So I
Just
know.
not in front of your wife. Don't say it in
Yeah.
front of your wife the
I've
wrong
been
way.
down. I still have my twang. I've been here since '92 in Atlanta, but I still have my twang. People are like, I don't know where you're from. Are you from Delaware? Are you from Rhode Island, Boston, New York, New Jersey? It's kind of, no, Pennsylvania. That's what it is. Yeah.
I get this a lot too. The where
Yeah.
are you from? And it's my accent is more profound when I'm tired. And so when I'm really tired, then it really comes out and people can ask me that question.
Yeah. Well, we're going to have a Philadelphia water conversation here. So the way we're going to do this is we're going to do it in three parts. You're going to tell us your story. We were kind of chatting anyway, but you're going to tell our audience your story. Where you grew up and went to school, sports, whatever, and how you ended up where you were today. Then we're going to talk about lessons learned on the roller coaster that we've been on for the last 5 years. Any trends that you see in the project management sector, et cetera. And uh, and then you'll leave one positive thought or phrase, your contact info, and then we'll finish out the episode. So with that said, the floor is yours, Dawn. Tell us your story.
Well, thanks, David. So I grew up in central Pennsylvania. My father was a railroader for 35 years, and I grew up in a very small town. And so I grew up as my dad's step and fetch kid. And our house was over 100 years old, and he was always working on it. And so I was always next to him when he was doing construction projects on the house. And in fact, one time I caught him jacking up the garage with the jack underneath it all by himself because that's the kind of guy he was. And it was from the 1800s, so it was like Boeing.
Oh, it was Bowen. Yeah, I was gonna say
Yeah,
you was lifting it.
yeah, he was lifting it. I was like, "What are you doing? Like, what if it lands on you?" I was safety dad, I was so anyway, I'm very close with my father, as we talked about when, he was the first guy I called to come on my adventure to find this house in Key West with me. And because he worked on the railroad, every day he'd come home and say, "You're going to college, kid," as he made his way to the couch to rest his weary bones. And so I did that. I went to community college first in Harrisburg, which is highly rated, and I did well there. And so I got a half tuition scholarship, thank goodness, to Lebanon Valley College, which is a small private college near Hershey, Pennsylvania, the sweetest
hmm
place on earth. And I got a degree in mathematics and a minor in business there. And then I found myself in IT because of the year 2000 problem.
hmm
And that's when I ended up with a transfer to Philadelphia, to the Philadelphia area. And I had always been drawn to Philly because of the skyline and the sports. I had played sports. I played field hockey and some basketball and whatnot, and really was mesmerized by pro sports. And so over the years that I got to be there, I was at the stadiums every chance I got. And in fact, I just flew up to Philly. I still fly up a lot and travel back and forth. And one of my friends that helped me write my book, Meet the Players in Projectland, and I are both Phillies fans. And so I got us great seats to celebrate our 1 year anniversary of the book, and we were just there, and we won. And we had a breakout picture and everything. So it was really, really wonderful.
Yeah. Hey, better, listen, all the stadiums are new in Philly. JFK is gone, Veteran, the Spectrum. I mean, those were the days. And I remember when well, we used to call them the filthies, the fixers, the feebles, I can go down the list, but nothing like Greg Lazinski, Steve Carlton, and the AstroTurf heating people's ACLs up, and it was a great place. Nothing like Philly fans either. Come on, the craziest. They boo Santa Claus, but they're still the best fans ever. Am I right?
Absolutely. I mean, the house was packed too, and that new stadium for the Phillies, Citizens Bank Park Stadium, is
Mm-hmm.
amazing. There's no bad seat in the house. It's fantastic, and I could get my Tony Luke's pork sandwich there too, so that was
Oh
good.
yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. After you went back to Philly, continue your conversation.
Yeah, so in Philly, I found myself in an IT consulting company, and we had lots of clients, lots of different industries. And what they say about consulting, I think is true. It was true for me, where you get double the experience in half the time. So it's like dog years in consulting. And so I found myself going from software developer to super geek database administrator to then being a project manager because somebody saw something in me and called me up one day and said, I need you to say yes when your boss comes to your desk today. I need you to run this project for me. And then the world was never the same for me after that because they just kept giving me bigger, hairier, scarier projects until I found myself running some of the biggest projects in the Fortune 500 and then the Fortune 50, and also being a project management office leader, changing the way organizations do projects completely, globally, et cetera. So it's been a wild ride there. And then we got bought, our Fortune 500 company got bought by the Fortune 50. And that's when I planned my exit.
The honeymoon was over.
Yeah, well, the thing is that that company was based in Michigan in a place that was a lot like a small town to me. And I had become so accustomed to the big city and all of the things. And I just thought that's just not the place for me. And so I talked to 22 trusted advisors, had lots of lunches and dinners and drinks about what should I do next. And they all said, except for one who only knew me in my darkest days when I was going through some really horrible personal stuff, um, only one said, go off on your own. Everybody else said, do it. You have enough experience to be helpful and valuable, but you're young enough that you can always come get another job, real job, anytime, right? And so
Mhm.
that was 2009, the same year I found this house that I left corporate and went off sort of on my own and built a company and been having a blast ever since through the ups and downs and the roller coasters too, which has been really a
Mhm.
wild ride. I agree with you there. And here I am now in Key West doing my thing and flying all over and writing this book on the weekends, balancing everything. It's crazy.
Show the audience your book.
Oh, yes, thank you. So
Hmm.
this is the book. It's called Meet the Players in Projectland, Decide the Right Project Roles and Get People on Board. So Projectland is my uh, word. And you can see here, it's a little blurred, but you can see animal avatars on the cover that are origami shapes. And because the creatures that you meet in Projectland on projects sometimes can resemble animals in certain ways. And I found that people are sensitive, and especially in some industries, maybe not as much in construction as in some other industries I work with, but nonetheless, people act certain ways when they're in fear, when they're under pressure, when they're under stress. And that's when really the claws can come out. And so by talking about the different roles on projects using animals as avatars, it not only makes it more fun and lighthearted, it also makes it much more clear for people to think about who they're dealing with and how to deal with them.
Yeah, being so you're PMP certified then, right?
Yes.
I've got a good there was a girl that she was in lighting for Philips when it was called Philips lighting back way back when. Anyway, she called me up one day and she said, "Hey, I have a meeting I have to go to out of town, and I'm supposed to speak at the local Atlanta PMP chapter. Would you go and stand in for me?" And I said, "I'm not a project manager," and she's like, "No, no, I've seen I've gone to your events, I've heard you speak. You can do it, and you project manage every month for your magazine. You can go do this." And I was like, "Okay, fine." So I went and I told my son, I said, "Look, I want you to come on, I want you to record me because eventually I want to go on the speaking circuit, and I need to have some samples of what I'm doing. So come in and record me, and we'll take some snippets and do some video editing." So anyway, I went in and I basically just told my story, of where I grew up, was in construction with my family and did this, did my retail training at Levitt's and all this. And uh, after it was all said and done, I was like, wow, I actually it was pretty cool. You think you know yourself, but then the best when you speak, if you're an expert on your own life. So when you go out and you tell your story, but then when you watch yourself and you hear it, it's like, wow, that actually is pretty cool. And I didn't realize I did all that stuff. And all those little things that I did, whether it was, athletics or this and that, it all molded me, who I am. I just turned 62 yesterday, so I'm officially a senior now. But it molds you in who you are. And when your friends told you that, hey, go for it. And I started my first I was with our company. We had 10 magazines and 8 trade shows. And in 99, I started my construction book. It was called Retail Operations and Construction. It was an ugly tabloid, but it was tied to a show. And Nielsen bought us. And that honeymoon lasted about 18 months. They sold a couple magazines off and they said, "Oh, we like the entrepreneurial spirit and blah, blah, blah." And right after 9/11, they were headquartered in New York. They whacked about, I don't know, 50, 60 magazines out of their portfolio. And my
Mm-hmm.
little construction book was only a couple years old. And it was the first time I actually had to lay off staff. And it was right before
Oh,
Thanksgiving. It was awful.
that's
And
horrible.
so I flew up. I met with the president and I said, "Mike, you need to sell me this magazine." He's like, "David, we love you. You could retire here." I said, "Mike, I'm going on the road. When I come back, I'm going down to Texas. It's going to be a Radio Shack, this and that. When I come back, you need to tell me what you're going to do." And they thought I was bluffing. So I went on the road. I came back and I said, "Mike, you going to sell me the magazine?" And they said no. I said, "Here's my resignation." I resigned December 17th, 2001. And everybody told me, my parents, my friend, everybody told me, except my wife said, "Go for it." And
Oh, good.
but it was the same year my son was born, and it was like my kid, and they just had the wrong budget. They had a budget line on there that was for consultant, $5,000, and they had like 150 magazines. Do the math. I want that job because I never even spoke to that person. And anyway. I knew how I wanted to run my company because so I kind of just, I looked out the door and kind of like you, where do I want to live? And I said, okay, I'm going to go over to the Buford Dam every day. I want to look at the lake. And so I went up there and then went through the dot-com and then the crash in '08 to '10
Mm-hmm.
and construction departments got completely whacked.
Mm-hmm.
Home Depot wasn't building 140 stores. It was crazy. And then, March 2020 came, and then it was supposed to be for a couple weeks, couple months. Here we are 5 years later. We're still talking about it.
Mm-hmm.
And then I made the transfer from print face to face to digital. And it's been an amazing ride. And uh, but when I look back, it was all about people. And there was always
Yes.
there's no I in team, and that's the athlete in me. Even like being if you're a fencer or you're a golfer, it's not just them. You got the caddy, you got your trainer. There's so many people involved with it, so you can still have your individual flair, but it's all the people around you, your team that can get it done because you can't do it all.
That's
And
right.
there's only so many seconds that are in the day. And if you know, it's just like this house. If you hire the right people, you can get things done. Now,
Hmm.
not everything's going to go smooth, but you're going to, you know, like here, there's things that we would have done a little differently after we look back. But now, as we move forward, if we rebuilt the same design on this house, we would do a couple things differently. It would still
Really.
look the same, but
Hmm.
just you know, and we liked all the subs. You know, they all did a great job. But there's just little things that you know, after you look back and assess, you're like, oh, you know, we should have put that there, or really probably could have put a barn door there. Or when you're doing the lights, you got to make sure that they're not retail lights, they're soft lights, and just you know, just little things. Cosmetically, I mean, image is everything. You only get one chance at your first impression. So. So that he really hit home when you said when all your friends were doubting it or saying, you know, whatever, but the one stuck out and said, "You go for it, girl." That's that's awesome that you took that took the leap of faith because you know, it was scary, you know, going
It's
into
scary.
you know, and I'll tell you when I went
100%.
digital, when I didn't we had a digital magazine and I had it, but I ignored it. I treated it like kind of like a stepchild, and I don't mean that meanly. I just you know it was there. I had it, and I was lucky I did. But when we decided to go digital, I swear I stayed up night after night, wake up in
Hmm.
the middle of the night going, "Oh my God, what you know, what are my advertisers going to? People are going to look at it." You know, now I look back, it was the best decision. I don't miss the post office. I don't miss the printer. You know, it's just it's an amazing thing, and everybody's on the web, everybody's connected to their phone, and but believing yourself, and if you have that project management mentality, that you know, there's deadlines, there's things you got to get done, and you got to hire people, and so that whole aspect really hit home what you know what you were saying. That's probably what your book's about too, right?
It's about the people side. It is absolutely about the people side. And, I just really feel like when you are doing these projects, no matter what they are, if they're moving your paper magazine to your digital magazine, if they're, moving houses, moving cities, there are projects in life and there are projects at work. And the thing that makes it hard or wonderful is the people. And so that's what I found, that there aren't many books that talk about the people side. There are lots of books that talk about process and tools, and lots of training talks about process and tools. But our focus in this book is the people, because the people will make or break your projects. And if you had subcontractors that just didn't work out for you, that, it would have been a much more terrible experience, all over, and there'd be a hangover from it while you're sitting in the house looking at the thing that they did wrong or whatever, right? And that just doesn't bode well for the feeling that you want in your new home either.
Yeah, I'll tell you, there was only one sub that we probably wouldn't hire, and it wasn't because of his work. He was from he was from Brazil, and he spoke Portuguese. And the translator on your phone, it just wasn't getting it. And in our upstairs bathroom, he ran the pipes for two sinks, and there was only room for one. All you had to do was look at it and say, "There's no way you're going to get two sinks in here." So anyway, my wife comes up and he said, "Oh, your husband told me to put two sinks up there." And I'm like, "I didn't tell you. Come on, it's this big. How you gonna put two sinks in there? It's not gonna
Oops.
happen. What are they gonna be this big?" And but it just made you know, I thought when you look back, you laugh, but the bottom line is, if you didn't catch it, it would have been a bummer.
Yeah, absolutely. And
And
communication is the key, right? I mean, the Project Management Institute, who you spoke at one of the chapters, they say that communication is 90% of a project manager's job.
oh
And
yeah.
and yeah, right? You're nodding your head. I didn't believe it at first, and then when I learned that when I was getting my PMP certification 20 years ago, and I'm sitting there and I'm going, yeah, what did I do all day? Yep, communicate, communicate, communicate all day long. That's what I did all day. So it's true. So that's part of the lesson, I think, is if you have a project manager or you think you want to be a project manager and you're not into communicating, it might not be the right place for you.
So a person that, you know, obviously construction people can take advantage of, you know, your value nuggets that are in your book, but it really doesn't matter what you're doing because life's a project. when you look at it, you're always improving, you're always learning, you're always making. I either say you win and you learn, you never lose. So,
I love that.
and the scoreboard always tells the story. You can't change it. Don't look back unless you forget what the scoreboard is. And that's why I said it doesn't matter if you win or ugly or pretty. It's still a W. But
Y
you
yes.
always want, and to be honest with you, I'd rather see a game that's 4-3 than 15-0. You know what I
Oh,
mean?
sure. Unless
Yeah.
it's your team, then you
Yeah.
love it when they annihilate like the other team that can't stand. But other than that, yes, it's much more
Yeah.
exciting.
As an athlete, I always, like basketball. If I watch basketball, I want to watch the last 10 minutes of the game,
Hmm.
because that's where all the decisions are going to be made. And it's going to be a couple plays here or there that determine who's going to win the game. And my wife's like, What are you watching b-ball for? I'm like, I'm a lacrosse guy and it's all the same plays. But the last 10 minutes, with, it's a couple baskets when the score could be 126, 120. That's three baskets. Or
Hmm.
it's or a couple free throws. When you look back, people say, "Oh, the baseball, it's a 164 game season. They can lose a couple." No, they all count because they're all everything that leads up to that. Something is going to come back, and if you get in the playoffs, maybe it's the decision of being the home team or the road team, or where you're going to get seeded in March Madness.
Hmm.
All those games count. And just like in commercial construction, whether it's a hotel or a retail or a restaurant store, if you're rolling out 20, all of those stores are important. Some are going to make more money than others, depending on what demographic or where the location is, but they're all important. And you never want you want to win at all those things. And that's what I took from when I was down at the PM, and there were all sorts of people in that audience. I mean, they weren't just construction people, there were all sorts of people in there. And it was funny though, because after I got out of there, I was like, wow, everybody took something from that. And being a PMP, so they were like, you need to go get certified. You need to go get the class and this and that. And, like, I'm so busy. I don't know. But maybe it's something I'll do down there. But it,
Well, before you do, call me and we'll have a real talk about it.
Yeah, yeah. But there's so like so when we built this house, we were project managers. So I had
Hmm.
to pull my permits, but he said, I don't have to do anything, right? I'm like, no, we're gonna run the whole project. You can come up whenever you want. And he came up and we poured the concrete, came up for my main inspection, and he just came up here to look at it and just said, hey man, this is an A+ gig for your first build. It was awesome. And I just said, well, the first thing I said, if you hire the right people that know what they're doing, you can get things done. And you
That's
still have
it.
to keep an eye on things, but
Yes.
it's all about who you hire. And it's just like your dad. He probably had all those different types of tools, but he knew how to use every one of them. I don't know how he
Hmm.
decided what size jack to lift the house up with. I'd love to know that scenario. Do I grab the Ford or I grab the Chevy jack? I don't know. You know,
He
right?
he was a beast back in the day, you know. It's wild to think about. I mean, the thing is, even if you're doing something on your own like that, like he was that day, you can still use the thinking to help you really think it through and make your life easier. There are lots of quotes about it, like, and certainly in carpentry they talk about, measure twice, cut once. And to me, it's all about that forward thinking when you're thinking about projects and planning. I mean, and also I was curious for you in being the general contractor for your own home. Did you have any issues with cross communication with the subcontractors? Did you find you had to like amp up communication? What was that like for you guys?
Um, I'll tell you, my wife, she had done so many interior projects, basements, bathrooms, all of those types of she had her crew. So they all knew that, she pays them well, she feeds them, she knows what she wants, and she's hands-on. And I'll tell you where I learned it was dealing with the municipality because
Mm,
they do not communicate. And
mm,
I'm not going to say every county is like that, but the
sure.
county that I built in, the water department doesn't talk to the building department. The building department doesn't talk to the septic department, the environmental.
Mm,
And so I just thought it was like the portal. Everything when I went to get my CO, my certificate of occupancy, for those of you who didn't know you're all in construction, you should know what that is. Anyway, when that's saying, hey, you can go in and move in and live in it. So uh, when I went to get that, I went on the portal and some of my stuff wasn't on there. And I'm like, why don't you guys have this all centralized?
Right.
You guys should all know you've all been there for 20, 25 years, but some of these people were like right across the parking lot from one another, and they don't know what the other departments do. They just have their phone number and they know where they're located. And that was the biggest thing. So I talked to the there was one thing that happened when we were putting in before our main inspection. They wanted to make sure our showers didn't leak. And I only have one, well, we have two one bathtub, and when we have like a foo-foo bathtub for, one of those big round ones, to
Oh,
stand in that, I'm not
it's the
going to
one
fill
I
it.
want.
Yeah, but it's a waste of water to me. Well, see, I just said water. See, there it is.
I
It came out. It's a waste of water to me. So anyway, they said, "Oh well, you need unless you use a Schluter system, we need to make sure that you have to fill it up to four inches of water and make sure that the drain falls in. But you're going to have to go in and get the mortar put in and put the liner in." And I said, "Yeah, but when we put the drywall and we start doing sheetrock, all the dust is going to come in. I'm going to have to rip all that out and do it again. And why do you want to do it that way? That's crazy." And the building official was like, "David, I don't make the rules, man. I'm just telling you what the code is for the county. And unless you use Sluter, you got to do it this way." And I thought that was ass backwards, excuse my French.
Mm-hmm.
And so did
Mm-hmm.
my wife. I mean, we actually called the guy and got him on the phone. We said, "Brandon, what is up with this? This is so stupid." And he's like, "I love guys to do self builds, but this is just the way it is." And I said, that needs to change because that's a waste of time to me and money because not only
Mm-hmm.
did it, cost something that I wasn't expecting on my budget, but I had to, get that person out here to get it done because it was something that I didn't know about. But then I had to rip it out and basically fix it. And so I think dealing with every county's different.
Yes.
Every
Mm-hmm.
county's different. So,
Mm-hmm.
but dealing with the municipality, the ones that have their act together are the ones that have taken technology and they have the pad. But I just thought going into the portal, they should all have access to it because
One
when I
would
finished
think.
to get my CO, I went down and I said, "Look, is everything in, I passed all my inspections. Is everything cool?" Because when I go and convert my construction loan to my mortgage, they're going to ask for my CO and if everything is cleared. So I want to make sure that all the departments, everything that I did, and I met everybody. I mean, I got cards. That was the biggest thing, communicating. "Hey, you have
Yes.
what's your email? What's your cell? I'm going to put you in my file. I'm going to put you in my phone in case I have anything." And
So
so,
smart. Mm-hmm.
but that was the biggest thing was dealing with the municipality because it's old school and they're trying, there's some contractors don't even have smartphones out there and they're probably using
Mm-hmm.
slide rules. However, they can still get it done, but it's so much easier if you embrace technology these days because it can take so much stress off you. And that was the biggest thing was dealing with the municipality. Not that
That
they were
makes sense.
mean, it's just that they didn't communicate between one another and they could have
Right.
made it so much easier, as a builder. As
Mm-hmm.
far as and but
Yeah, and I mean, I'd imagine on the commercial side that can happen too, where, you just, if when you have these big organizations, the left hand doesn't always know what the right hand is doing. And that's even though they were across the parking lot from each other in the municipality, they just didn't, and they're not incentivized to.
no, no, they're in there, they're looking for their retirement, and not that that's wrong, but I just thought that, and there's a ton of construction that's going on out here. I mean, it was like when I came to Atlanta, it was before the Olympics, so I saw all that get built. And then when I went on my own, my first issue, I had the director of construction for Home Depot on my cover. He had a 2x4 with his orange apron. His name was Mark Beers. He was a character, man. He made me laugh. But he got jazzed for that cover. But they were building about 140 stores a year. And when you're building that many stores, you got to communicate.
Hmm.
How could you not communicate? And the internet was just kind of coming alive and email and all that stuff. Now you look back, it's like ancient history. Now,
Right.
everything's done with technology. But
Well,
um,
I love what you did there with making sure that you had everybody's numbers and that you were organized with all of that because that's really good stakeholder management because they were stakeholders for you and you were the one that cared the most about it, but you had to manage their involvement so that you could get what you wanted. And that happens all the time in projects, all kinds of projects everywhere. And the stakeholders are the people and I have this like Dr. Seuss style rhyme that I use to help people understand it. I say stakeholders are the people outside your project team who love your project, hate your project, or are somewhere in between.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And and you have to manage all of them. I mean, when I started in project management, I didn't even know who stakeholders were, but they can make or break your project. I mean, just like the government, your municipality could have made or broken your whole state of being able to move into your house and have your loan convert and everything.
My on my wife's side, her uncle, her daughter got married, so we over in Hilton Head. So we went to this really beautiful southern wedding. It's outside, off the island, beautiful, and I mean, just it was something you'd see on a reality TV show. I mean, it was just beautiful. Anyway, it rained, so
Oh,
they had to bring all the food. It was out on the grass, and it rained. All the ground was wet, and uh, we left early after dinner, and anyway, the power went out too after we left. So, but they didn't have a backup plan. And I told
what?
my wife, I was like, "Oh my God, Uncle Mike, he's going to be so ticked off." But I wonder if the wedding company that did that set it all up, the project management wedding company, call them what you want, if they even thought about what happens if it rained? How are we going to get the food down there? What are we going to do about the dance floor if it's slick, if someone falls? How are we going to get people that are all in their gowns and their high heels and they're going to start sinking into the grass? These are the things that I was thinking about. And it just kind of hit me. I was like, man, they had
Wow.
had a plan B. If they're not, I would ask for my money back, because
Absolutely.
but it's all about communication. So if you're having a wedding and you're going to do it outside, make sure that you have a backup plan. All the events that I did over the year, people are like, "Oh, why don't you do a rooftop?" Because if it rains, you got to have a backup plan to get inside. And if
Mm-hmm.
it rains, a lot of people won't show up. And these are the
Mm-hmm.
things that, it's not a bad thing to think about. I'm a Dale Carnegie guy. I did Dale Carnegie. I was a Dale Carnegie assistant. I went down there, and so what's the worst that can happen and what's the best that can happen? You want to be somewhere right in the middle, just like you said. Where's the stakeholder? You want to be right, in that sweet spot. And it doesn't matter what you're doing. It's
Mm-mm.
just in life in general. You want to know what's the best, what's the worst, and you want to be right in that middle because you have everything covered. And then there's always going to be that anomaly that comes in that you're like, wow, how did that happen?
The
Well, now I
zinger.
know.
Yeah.
Am I right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we talk about it in risk management and in the risk management section of things. And in risk management, so it's so funny that you talked about this weather situation because when in some of my classes when I've taught how to do a project from beginning to end, I have people from all different kinds of industries that come, some people in tech, some people in construction, et cetera. And so we do this pool project, a swimming pool project. We take it from concept to completion, just on paper, just talking about it, et cetera. And I weave in all the crazy stuff that people do. And one of the examples is, well, it rains this time of year. What are we going to do about it? And so in one of my classes, somebody said, well, what if we bought a giant circus tent? And we had somebody like my dad, who's watching the weather all the time anyway, who's on the team, let us know, hey, if there are any big rainstorms coming, then we'll have time to put up the giant circus tent. And then we can use that giant circus tent over and over and over again for all kinds of projects, for all sorts of things, and rent it
Rent
out
it
to the
out. Yeah.
people that need it. And so I was like, I built that in then to the training as one of the like zingers is, hey, it rains for 5 days straight at the worst time in the project. When would that worst time be? And most of these people, actually, maybe one in thousands of people, had ever actually done pool construction before, where they knew more about the actual work of the project than we most of other folks. And the thing that's awesome about that is when you're the project manager, the first time you get a project, it's probably in your wheelhouse, something that you understand the basics of. But then over the course of a project management career, you get so far away from the thing that you know, and then all you know anymore is project management. And so you need to rely on the other people on the team, like you said, the experts in these different areas, the plumbers, the electricians, the whatever. And have really solid relationships with those team leads. Because if you don't know all the inner workings of all those things and you can't be everywhere, especially on big projects, then how are you going to be confident that the guy from Brazil knows how to do the thing? If you can't be there with him, hanging out with him all day long every day. You have to come up with all the contingency plans, but the way that you do that up front is by setting the people up for success in the beginning. So you had your wife as your partner in this who has a lot of experience, which had to help a lot because you must know how to communicate after all these years of being married.
What's your favorite chapter in your book?
My favorite chapter is chapter 12, which talks about the teaming process because I'm so proud of the illustration in it that takes you through forming, storming, norming, performing, and then adjourning and mourning. And there's this arrow that goes from the inside to the back to the beginning because anytime the team makeup changes, you start all over again at forming. And most people miss that, which makes life hard with on the people side. So that's a really short chapter, but really my favorite because it talks about the teaming process and how it works on projects.
Real quick about pools. So we were going to put a pool in,
Okay.
and I got a couple of bids. I knew they were expensive, and I got a couple of bids. And I looked at my wife. I said, "We're in the wrong business. We got to be contractors. There's just way too much money." So I got my three bids because we always ask for three bids.
Perfect.
I went online and I called a pool company up. I said, "Okay, I want to put a 30 by 16 pool in my back. I want it to be 5 feet deep, simple rectangle. I'm going to send you this quote. Don't laugh at it when you see it. Just tell me how much I need, how much that pool equipment is going to be for a saltwater pool." So they sent it to me. So my sod guy, he's like, "Oh," I go, "Horace, you do pools?" He goes, "Yeah, I could dig the pool." And I go, "How much are you going to charge me for that?" So he tells me. So I know how much the pool equipment is, and so I put it all together and I looked at it and I told my wife, I go, "We're building that pool ourselves because we're going to learn how to do it ourselves, and then we're going to put it on our website and we'll have that as an asset. And then if someone wants to come see it, they can see what we're going to build." So I'm just going to wait until it gets a little cooler here at the end of the summer, but I'm going to dig my hole myself. And then him and another guy, they'd never done shotcrete or gunite, whatever it's called. We don't want to do a liner, we want to build it. And we already have an electrician, we already have a plumber, and I've already found out what the permit is, and we're going to do the pool ourselves. And uh, I like doing that stuff. I like working my hands. So is my kid. He's in A&P, and he's in aviation. But the bottom line, I was like, we're going to do it ourselves, and we're going to learn how to do it. Just like this house, we never built it before. I knew we could do it. I just didn't.
Mhm.
It was you get the plans, you hire people, and
Yeah.
you go for it, and you just keep your blinders on and keep moving forward. And but uh, if someone out there in commercial construction coffee talk land wanted to touch base with you and get your book or bounce some questions off you, maybe they have a wedding that they're going to do or a construction project, whatever it might be, how would someone reach out to you?
You can get me on LinkedIn, so please link in with me. My last name is Mahan, so you only need to buy one vowel for me, Dawn, Mahan. So please link in with me and let us know that you heard the show and you enjoyed it. But to get a sample of the book, you can go to projectguru, press.com/sample and get a free sample of the book, which talks about why most projects fail, which is a shame, and how it doesn't have to be that way. So you can get a free sample there, or of course you can go on Amazon or to your favorite bookseller and get Meet the Players in Projectland. And let me know if you buy the paperback and you want to link in with me. I'd be delighted to send you some goodies to go with the book and a little signed sticker so that you can have a signed book and a bookmark and so forth. So let me know. I'd love to hear from you.
Well, I'll put all that information in the description, everybody that's out there. Also, when I edit it, I'll put all that information on there as well. And are there any trends that you see going into the second half of the year in the 2020? Well, and then we'll kind of finish up here. What trends do you see going into with project management in general?
Yeah, everybody's talking about AI everywhere, and project management is no exception. For communication, it can be really helpful tool to use to improve your email communications, your presentation communications, and so forth. So some folks have been having fun with AI that way. That's a big trend I'm seeing, and I'm curious as to how that'll end up. But the good news in construction is nobody can outsource that to AI, and especially in the hands-on, being there in person, et cetera. So you're in good shape in your industry.
Yeah, yeah. Listen, robots are a ways away, and but there's nothing like some good old hands-on, getting things done. If anybody wants to reach me, I'm at David C at CCR-mag.com. Listen, Dawn got on here because her publicist sent me a press release. I looked at it, we talked, we went back and forth, and here she is. So we love content. I am data addicted. We post stuff all day long. And it's like playing the lottery. If you don't buy a ticket, you can't win. You don't send me something, I can't look at it. You can't get it on the show. You got to let me know. You got to communicate with me. And don't judge a book by cover. We put all sorts of stuff up there. Send it to me. Turnaround time, 24 to 72 hours, depending on how busy we are. But we make sure it's Google indexed, it's meta tagged, everything. You share it. It's a win-win. It's good for your SEO, which is search engine optimization. That's how Google finds you. So send us stuff. We love looking at stuff, and it could be an anniversary. It could be new product announcement. It could be a charity golf tournament to do. You're doing an event in Philly where they're going to have water. Any of that kind of stuff. Send it to us. So, if there was one positive thought or phrase that you'd like to leave with our listeners, what would it be?
Know thyself.
Yeah,
Know
that's awesome.
thyself. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you talked about how you were confident that you could do this. It was the first time you ever did it before, but you knew that you and your wife could pull this off, and you did it. Congratulations. And
Yeah.
it all starts with know thyself.
Yep. Know thyself, guys. That's, the name of the game, confidence. It's just like speaking. You can tell your story. No one knows your story. You're the best person or you're expert on yourself. So know thyself is that comes to home. So a couple things before we finish up here. Number one, if you're on a construction site, we want you to be safe. You want to be able to get home, have dinner with your spouse, your husband, your kids, your pets, have some fun, get some REM sleep, and be able to go do it the next day. Number two, it's really hot out there. Doesn't matter if it's the wintertime either. Bottom line is you got to stay liquefied. That's the athlete in me. You got to drink water, put the electrolytes in there. If you stay liquefied, you don't get headaches, you don't make mistakes, you don't get accidents, you'll sleep better, and you'll have a much better day the following day. But last but not least, hit the like button so the YouTube algorithms out there will find this episode on Dawn, and you can find out about her book and all that good stuff. So, Dawn, pleasure to meet you. And if I get down to Key West, I'm going to look you up, and you can show me the sites. I'm sure it's changed, and I haven't been there probably in 30, 40 years. It's been
Oh,
a
you're
long
due
time.
for a trip then, David.
Oh yeah,
Bring the
no, like I
missus
said, I
down.
think I think I was probably like, I don't know, maybe 10 years old when I did that tarpon trip. And I just
Wow.
remember going, I got the flu or something, and we had to cut the trip short, and drive back. But it was awesome. Remember, we were by this bridge, and we got this tarpon, and a freaking shark came up, and there it went, man. But we were right.
That's
But
typical Keys
but
action.
tarpon fishing, there's nothing like. If you've never done it, it's a bucket list thing. You got to get down to the Keys. It is beautiful down there. Bone fishing, tarpon, doesn't matter. It's all awesome. It's definitely God's country. So, any last words before we sign off?
Well, I just want to thank you so much for having me to be able to talk about the people side of project management and projects and my book, Meet the Players in Projectland. So hopefully it will help some folks conquer the people side, which I think is the hardest part. So thank you so much, David, for having me. It's been such a pleasure to chat with you.
No, I'm honored to have you on here. You're a PA girl, Philly. Go Phillies, and all that good stuff. And we all say, I'm going to say water to the rest of my life. That's just the way it is. So listen, everybody, it's 4th of July week. I got my flag flying behind me. You got tomorrow and you got Wednesday. Thursday is a wash. Friday it's off. So listen, go enjoy yourself. Don't work this weekend if you don't have to. If you do, you're going to get off eventually and you can enjoy yourself. If you're in restaurant hospitality, you're probably working, or if you're in aviation, you're flying. But the bottom line is it's halfway through the year. So do your assessment. look back at the last 6 months and how you could change and improve. And then for the next 6 months, just, pedal to the metal and give it your all. And at the end of the year, you can and look, and it's all about repetition. It's a big cycle, man. It's all going to start over again, and you do it, and you do it better and stronger and faster. So, Dawn, pleasure to meet you. And I'm signing off up here at Lake Lanier. Dawn signing off. Say goodbye from Key West.
Thank you so much, David. Bye from the Florida Keys.
And I will see you next time on another episode of Commercial Construction Coffee Talk. Dawn, pleasure. All right. Cheers, everybody.
Cheers.